Hey everyone, give me a quick 60 seconds here before we get started. Summer on the Seacoast feels like it's right around the corner. The windows are cracking open, that clean New Hampshire air is coming through, the lighting is perfect. But you also might make eye contact with someone walking by your house when you're having your peaceful morning coffee. And then suddenly your morning feels less coastal New England charm and more like you're living on that live stream that is always showing what's happening in Market Square, which isn't that kind of weird that we do that? I feel like we need to talk about that more. Anyways, we love the light around here. We just don't need an audience while we're enjoying it. That's where Budget Blinds of the Seacoast comes in. They're local, they come straight to your home, and they help you figure out exactly what works for your space so that you're not wandering the aisles of Home Depot for 2 hours pretending you know what you're doing, which guilty as charged. Whether you're in a modern Portsmouth apartment, a Dover colonial, or a Maine coastal spot where the sun somehow finds every window at all hours of the day, Budget Blinds helps you control the light, the privacy, and the feel of your home. Custom blinds, shades, and shutters, professionally installed, reasonably priced, and done right the first time. For more info, just visit our sponsors section in the show notes. Now on to today's episode.
In that study, they equated that the effects on your body from loneliness, are you ready for this?
Please.
It equates to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
How is that possible?
It has the same impact on our bodies internally as smoking. So whether or not we can see it, it's happening. And all of the research has shown that there's a decline in the longevity of our lives because of loneliness.
Welcome to Seacoast Stories, a weekly podcast where we interview the people and businesses of New Hampshire and Maine. I'm Troy Farkas. I've produced some of the most popular podcasts in the world. And since moving to the Seacoast in 2023, I've fallen in love with the area and its inspiring people. And now I'm on a mission to bring the Seacoast closer together, one podcast at a time. On today's episode, something a little different. So to take you behind the scenes here, you seldom hear the first 10 to 15 minutes of the interviews I do. I typically cut those out of the final product, as that part of the conversation is often irrelevant to the story we are telling that day. But today, I'll break my own rule and we'll start this conversation from the very beginning because spring is in the air, hope and optimism are in the air, and I'm feeling grateful for the Seacoast. And that's why we spend the first few minutes hyping up our little slice of heaven that we both have chosen to call home, and I want y'all to hear that. But before doing so, some quick context on our guest today. Her name is Gwen Viscount Nesbitt. She's originally from Pennsylvania, went to college there, and then she lived in Tampa, Boston, and as of 2 years ago, Portsmouth. We'll talk about the path that led her here, but it's important that you know about the business that she's rapidly growing. It's called Fabrik, Fabrik, and it's centered on the very concept that this podcast and so many other Seacoast businesses are obsessed with, and that's building community. In a nutshell, Gwen and her co-founder, Jacqueline, identify unused corporate spaces and then turn them into hubs for co-working, collaborating, creating, and yes, community building. There's currently 2 Fabrik spaces in New York City, one in Tribeca and the other in the hipster neighborhood in Brooklyn, Dumbo, which I've actually walked past the Fabrik space there before. And as of very recently, they have a new Fabrik space in Chicago. As of this moment, they're not planning on bringing Fabrik to the Seacoast, but despite that, I promise you this conversation is very relevant for both Seacoast employees and perhaps more importantly, for employers who want to keep their employees happy at work. To be clear, Fabrik is not a co-working space. It's something much more than that. It's a social infrastructure where real people meet, host, build, and belong. They're spaces for community builders and the people who want to find their people. And it's a business that is directly confronting the $1.9 trillion loneliness epidemic America is facing, a subject Gwen and I are both very passionate about and one that we will discuss at length on today's show. Also to come, Gwen's obsession with building businesses, the lost art of serendipity, why the loneliness epidemic actually started long before the pandemic, how Fabrik is changing the way employers treat their employees, what workers really want from work these days, plus our favorite Seacoast restaurants, and so much more. I first met Gwen in a paddleboarding group last summer, and I'm so excited for you all to meet her today because this woman is a badass and I think you will love her. So, without further ado, now on to the episode. I am Troy Farkas here in my mobile studio in the west end of Portsmouth, and I am joined by someone who has been on the list for a very long time. I first met this woman out in the middle of the Piscataqua River last summer. Perhaps we'll get to that. That laugh you're hearing is the voice of Gwen Viscount Nisbet, newly Gwen Viscount Nisbet, because she just got married just a matter of weeks ago, right here in downtown Portsmouth at Jimmy's downtown. Gwen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Congrats on the nuptials.
Thank you.
Tell me, I wasn't invited. It's fine. Tell me about the wedding and what the venue was like. I mean, Seacoast weddings are to die for. Give me all the tea.
It was great. So I'm not from the Seacoast. I'm also not from New England originally. I'm from central Pennsylvania, one red light town. And my new husband is from Maine. So we now call Portsmouth home. And when we were thinking about where to get married, Portsmouth's a destination. Anyone who comes here wants to stay here. And we thought, why not get married in our own backyard and have our families and friends come to us and get to experience what we get to experience every single day. So we had a March Seacoast wedding at Jimmy's.
The ceremony was at Jimmy's?
Yeah. So everything. So everyone came at 5 and they didn't leave until 11 o'clock.
Wow.
So it was a party. It was a party. Nowadays, Bridget did our flowers.
Nice.
We had a Southern Girl Bakery do our cake because I am celiac. So they did fantastic. Yeah. And everyone got to spend a long weekend in Portsmouth and get to experience what the Seacoast was like and the people were like. And I think that's the biggest thing that people, like our friends and family reflected on is that at Jimmy's, they felt very cared for. And also just walking the streets of Portsmouth, whether it was a restaurant or a coffee shop or a small business, just the sense of community that exists here.
Had they been here before?
No, a lot of them haven't.
Yeah. What were their impressions? The big takeaways? Favorite things?
Well, my brother, they live outside of Philadelphia, and he was walking with my husband, Will, and I, and we were walking. He goes, guys, I know this is like water's wet, but like, this is really New England. Like we are like, we're like walking, towards the church, like on the beautiful bricks and cobblestones. And he's just like looking around like, you guys do this every day? Like, yeah. And there's the guy around the corner that's like, strumming a guitar. We feel like we're in Stars Hollow, Gilmore Girls style. So that was really special. And I think that throughout the entire ceremony, the weekend, we always looked for ways to pull in the Seacoast. Even on our website, I did a whole little like things to do and see.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. I had our favorite restaurants.
Which were?
Cure, obviously.
Sorry to stop you. Make this about me. When outsiders come, people look at me as like a things to do guy. And restaurants wise, we have so many of them in Portsmouth, but there's never been one for me that I've been like, you have to go here. This is hands down the best place. Now, a lot of people will jump in and say that Surf is that place. Personally, just not my genre of food. So my opinion doesn't matter there. I hadn't been to Cure until a month ago. Really? And I finally have an answer to that question. That place is incredible. Shout out to Julie Cutting. What you are doing there. Oh my God, that food is amazing.
So good. And Kate. Do you know Kate?
Yes. I met her.
I was like, how do you not know Kate?
She has the Taylor Swift podcast, right?
Yes. Yeah, and she also curates the drink menu. Yeah. And if you're a Swiftie, you will read the drink menu.
Incredible. I know she's actually a listener. She took care of us last time.
Shout out to Kate. Also, a lot of our friends and family went to Cure Friday night. Like I'm pretty sure half of the folks in the restaurant were our family and friends, and they always make them feel really welcome. And my mom and sister FaceTimed me and Kate, so that was funny too.
Yeah,
but
so you had Cure on the must-have
Cure on
list.
It. Louise, new favorite. I have been hearing about Louise since I moved here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And
the legend of Louise.
It is a vibe. I mean, it is my friends.
The windows,
the dark, moody. You step in and like you feel like you're in New York.
Yeah.
I had my friend, actually my co-founder, Jacqueline, her and her husband came up and I said, you have to go to Louis. Like it's so your vibe. And it, of course, did not disappoint. But what else was on there? River House. Classic.
Yep. Great spot.
Classic. Lobster roll. I had Reedmore on there.
Ooh, nice.
I know. We'll get into it. I come from a generations of family businesses.
Right.
And Nisa is a 4th generation family business owner. So that was on the list. What else was on the list? Cafe Von Solon. I'm probably saying that wrong.
Do you know? No one knows how to say it right.
We need to.
I think I say Cafe Von Solon as well.
I mean, that's
people
what
say
it looks
Von
like.
Solon. People like completely come up with pronunciations that I never would have pulled that one up.
Do we say it phonetically? Like, I'm German, so half German's in my blood. Maybe I should know what it is, but we need to fact check that. What else? Wild Valentine.
Love that place. They use La Molita coffee beans.
Yep. Also, there's one chair in specifically. If it's not open, I don't stay.
Really?
It's my spot. And if someone's in my spot, I will come back.
Wow. Okay. I'm curious to know which spot this is.
It's right when you walk in. If you look to the right, it's the last stool closest to the wall.
Really?
And it's perfect for like working, perching, looking out of, seeing what's going on, the people walking by. When it's the farmer's market, that when it starts, like, ooh, that place is busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, good thinking spot.
Yes. I love that we're starting here because we don't hype up the Seacoast enough on this show. And it's so, I think, refreshing for outsiders like us because, now that I'm so in the weeds of Portsmouth and the Seacoast at large, I come across a lot of people on social media specifically, where there's always angry people who talk about the heyday of Portsmouth and the way that things used to be and how they were so much better when X, Y, and Z existed. And here we come within the last 3 years, and your family comes a couple of months ago, and they're like, "You live like this every day? This place is amazing." And I think it's so refreshing for fresh eyes to come in and be awed by what we have here in Portsmouth and what the rest of the Seacoast has to offer, that it serves as a beautiful reminder to the people who have been here for decades, who did grow up here, who have seen it through all these different iterations, to remind them that even though maybe they're a little bit jaded at this point, which is understandable, it reminds them, you know what? What am I complaining about? I actually live in such a desirable, cool place, and I should be a little more appreciative of it. So thanks for reminding the people.
They also decided to stay here.
Yeah.
So no, my husband talks about like what like Portsmouth used to be like pre-pandemic levels. And I think you actually talked about this recently on one of the stories of, was it Workplace Stay Portsmouth?
Stay Workplace. Yeah.
There you go. And it was through that lens of like, each bar used to have, lines like around the corner and just like packed and like vibey. And I know that to be Boston because like that's where I used to live. But that's what Portsmouth used to feel like. And I think that, there's a lot of reasons of why that is. But I think that like it doesn't negate the fact that there's a lot of incredible people doing a lot of incredible things to build spaces and places for people to come together in real life, whether it's for a shared meal, shared drink, pick up a book, or just wander the streets of Portsmouth. Like there's always opportunities for people to be together with each other.
Yeah. As Dagan from Liar's Bench said on the podcast recently, great guy. He made a combat sports reference, which I love. He said that Portsmouth restaurant-wise, Portsmouth punches above its weight class. And I will steal another combat sports reference. This is the universe I used to work in. Pound for pound, character, quality of people, the amount of people who are in Portsmouth and in this area who are making big impacts, not only locally, but in other places like you, like my friend, our mutual friends, Ray and Ryan, what they're doing with dinner clubs, not only that started with Seacoast Stories, but is now going across the country. Like there are major players here who have decided to call home here, and you wouldn't really know that. There's people out here who are doing very big, impactful things. I
completely agree. And I think one of my ways to start to understand the people that live in the Seacoast is Nisa had at Readmore, had a local author series. And there's some like well-known authors in the Seacoast or within an hour radius. And they live here. Their books are on shelves all across the world that people are picking up and reading, and yet they live here, and they get to, and I think part of that's also maybe what's inspiring to their stories or what helps them get creative. To that point, I think one of the things that I found most surprising, but also really encouraging is, so when we started building Fabrik, and of course I then got a chance to learn a lot about what IRL community and meeting up is like. And one of the very well-known global communities is called Creative Mornings. And I knew of them as being in New York. They're founded in New York. Tina, the founder, is in New York. It's a New York established community first. And going on the website, I didn't realize that the Seacoast has a creative mornings chapter, and I got to go to it. And the people, the caliber of people, the diversity and age in the room, background. I mean, that is a direct correlation to the people that call Seacoast home, but are also building community.
Absolutely.
Within the area.
Yeah. Once a month, Creative Mornings happens Fridays. Used to happen at Music Hall Lounge. They've now moved to the Dance Hall in Kittery. And yeah, when you're there, it's just a who's who of the Seacoast in that room.
Yeah. And it's inspiring. And I think that like, unless you're in the Seacoast, and if you're in the Seacoast and you go to Creative Mornings, you know what it is. But when you're in New York, I mean, they pull like 200 people. Like big crowds, and they have a wait list and everything. And the fact that, no, it does. They sell out in like a minute.
Yeah.
But the people, again, who are attracted to that kind of being around other people, like showing up and not having a friend there or just coming by themselves, like that's just normal in those kind of spaces. And I think that, again, it's just like, it's another testament to the people creating and building in the Seacoast area.
Absolutely. All right. So as you said, you're not from here. You grew up in central Pennsylvania in a small town. Your parents, they were business owners. They had a grocery store. You grew up running around there, playing there, observing them, having a front row seat to the grind of owning your own business, the lessons from which I'm sure you still carry with you to this day. Skipping ahead, you would end up going to college at Bloomsburg, which is a school in Pennsylvania. You changed majors a couple times. Eventually, you got your degree in business, graduated from school. Then what happens?
Then I go to Florida through power of community and connection. I got offered a job from an alumni at Bloomsburg, and I moved to Tampa. I became a regional sales manager. So my territory was essentially New England. Maine to West Virginia is what I covered for sales, but I lived in Florida. So I was up here practically every month, and that was kind of my exposure, more of a day-to-day of New England. We came here as kids for vacation on the Cape, Nantucket, that type of thing. But it was really an opportunity for me to start to like have more of an opportunity of what is Tuesday in September like in Boston, or Thursday in, I didn't actually come up to Portsmouth, but I did go to Kittery, and I did have clients in Newburyport, which I know I say Newburyport wrong, but that's okay.
Newburyport. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I always get laughed at when I say it. So
I mean, if you say it's wrong to say Newburyport.
Sometimes I think that's what I say.
Newburyport.
I know.
You know what I say wrong that I didn't realize until I got to college? So ask any 518er.
518.
My area
Albany,
code. Shout out to Albany, New York.
Yeah, Schenectady, Troy.
Yeah, Clifton Park, Saratoga. The list goes on. What do you call a film, a nonfiction film that was usually about like a history thing or a certain
movie?
No. More specifically, type of film, very informational.
Like a documentary?
There you go. I say, and all of us from the 518s would call that a documentary.
Oh.
And we would also say the school before middle school is
elementary school.
Elementary school.
Oh, interesting. How do you say research?
Research.
Have you heard research?
I've heard that one as well.
Okay.
I feel like the academics say research.
I know. It's kind of like data and data.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But when we all went to college, all of us 518ers went off to college in different places. We got called out for people like, what did you just say? I'm like, documentary. Let's watch a documentary. And they're like, it's documentary. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, that's semantics, but just some 518 knowledge for you.
I love that. I'll think of you now every time someone says that. I'll know now the reference.
Yeah. All right. So Newburyport, just ate at the Joy Nest. Beautiful spot. Eclectic menu.
Yeah.
So you're up here. You're taking in the scenes. This is your area for work. What exactly are you doing in a digestible couple sentences?
It's so sexy. I used to sell containers for hazardous waste.
Fun.
Yeah. Which there's a lot of hazardous waste that is generated in New England. So
I believe that.
These are chemical companies, a lot of schools, universities, hospitals, anything that effectively you couldn't throw away in a garbage can. It was regulated for how you could transport it. So I sold the containers that put it in there so that you and I were safe, that if that truck got into an accident, we would be protected.
Did you enjoy this?
I loved it.
Okay.
When I got
someone
hired,
did.
I loved it. It was so unique. It was hard. I got to learn a lot. But at the time, and this was kind of, I guess, like those little like green shoots of inspiration of like, oh, that makes sense of why I liked it. My boss, the founder of the company, when I came in when I was like 22, and he said, you're going to have the Northeast territory and you're going to basically be like your mini CEO of that territory. Do whatever you want, just grow it. And I got complete autonomy to just sell who I wanted to. Pricing was kind of up to me. So I really got an opportunity to have this almost like sandbox or playground to build a business. And I did very well and I loved it. And I think that was a good insight for me that like any job I do, I need complete autonomy to own what it becomes, which is direct correlation to what my life becomes, my future, what have you. So that was really my first opportunity of being this like mini CEO of my territory in a way.
Very cool. All right. So you're in Florida and then you eventually, for this same company, make your way up to Boston, right?
I did. I didn't have to live my territory, but I was 25 at the time. And I loved Florida. Florida's great. Tampa's fantastic in your 20s.
You're like the first to ever say that.
Oh, that's another topic. New Englanders either love Florida and they're all snowbirds or they hate Florida. And I think it's because they are fine with the cold weather and they just overheat in Florida, which makes sense. But no, I really loved Boston. I really loved New England. And I got to a point where I wanted to go back to the Northeast. I feel like the grit of the Northeast, the people, the speed, I missed all of that. I was also mid-20s. There's more to life than sun, beach, and drinking and having a fun and partying. Like there's more to that.
Oh my God. That's so funny. If this podcast were being aired in the winter, people would be so mad at you for saying
They'd be so mad. They always say, you can't shovel sunshine. I'm like, you know what? You can't, but that's okay. It makes us tough. It's the grit.
All right. So you come up here, you're bouncing all around Boston. I'm sure you lived in a bunch of different neighborhoods. Which was your favorite?
Charlestown.
Beautiful.
I love, and you know what? There's a number of reasons why, but it's this sense of community.
I'm sensing a theme here.
I know. Well, and the cool thing with Charlestown is the community that is established is through the female entrepreneurs that own the businesses, the brick and mortar businesses. They have a small Charlestown Business Association or coalition. It's basically all the business owners coming together. And through them coming together, they've done an excellent job of having different like pop-up series or weekends or just themes to drive traffic to each other's stores or restaurants. And I think that Boston and big cities can feel so big, but I think there's opportunities for people to create spaces that, they can have a sense of community amongst thousands and thousands of people. So no, I'm big fan of Charlestown.
So I've said this on the show before, but I had never really heard the word community used in the way that it is now and as commonly as it is used now until COVID and beyond. I had never heard people use it as a way to highlight an area before. If I had asked you prior to the pandemic what you loved so much about Charlestown, would highlighting the community have even come to mind for you? Would you have used that wording for it?
You know what's interesting? It wasn't the verbiage until people started to say it. And I think that's the point that you're making, which is it's now more part of our vernacular.
Yeah.
Community is not new. I feel like just the way that we describe the feeling is what we're doing.
And how we realize it's essential because we lost it in COVID.
That's exactly right. And I feel like when I think of that example of Charlestown and we're coming here is the sense of community. We say the word community, but what we're describing is a feeling. It's a feeling of belongingness. I'm coming home and I have people, my neighbors or people I'm meeting up with where they're like family. They're my connection. That's how I socialize. Community has been the word of the year. I feel like it's going to be the word of the year. I mean, even in like B2B, like in business to business, like there are corporate companies who now have hired director of community. 15 years ago, we called these groups user groups. They were people that used the same tech or had the same service and they met up and they got to compare notes, also called industry groups. What companies are doing is they're now looking at it through the lens of community, the act of bringing people together on a shared topic. In some cases, if it's a B2B company, it's tech. So like HubSpot, Boston-based company, there's a bunch of HubSpot communities. They're in real life opportunities for people that use the product to meet up and compare notes and learn together and be in community with each other. they don't roll up to HR. They roll up to a chief revenue officer. So it's a revenue generating function. But I share that example because I think unless you like work in this industry, like you don't know those like little shifts that are happening, not just on a localized level, but on a like much greater scale. But I think that because big companies are now putting a focus on community and creating spaces for people to come together, even if, yes, at the end of the day, it is for a bottom line gain. We can't knock them for the fact that they're still doing the work of bringing people together on a shared topic to learn from each other, grow from each other, whether it's virtually or in real life. So yeah, community is, I would love to see the trend data on that word.
Yeah. It's by far and away the number one thing that people, when talking about, when raving about the Seacoast, that's the first thing that they say is the sense of community here.
Yeah. And I think that, there's a really good book called Bowling Alone. And, that's Robert Putnam and all of the research that he's done that, clubs and communities have been disappearing since the 70s. So
that long, huh?
Yeah. And everyone thinks it's the pandemic. It's not the pandemic. I think this generation now starts to feel more of it because of the pandemic.
Fair to say downward trend and then steep cliff in COVID.
And also the rise of social media.
Yes.
So the art of feeling connected because we have these phones that connect us.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is it's making us wildly disconnected. So yes, the pandemic definitely compounded the impact. And of course, social media also compounds, but this has been a trend since the 70s.
Why has it been going on that long? That's surprising for me to hear. What are the contributors?
Yeah. So if you think of community in its purest sense, it started a lot with religion and churches and bowling leagues and these shared sports. And over time, people's behavior change, their beliefs change. And through all of that, I think that it's mainly that is what started to kind of have the shift. And then of course, when we think about like social media and kind of how that has compounded it, I also think that, I don't know what kind of family you were raised in, but like, did you go to like your family's, like your parents' friend's house for like dinners and stuff?
Not that often.
No? Okay. No. I just remember as a kid, like we would always be at our friends' houses.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
When was the last time you went to a friend's house for dinner?
Yeah,
or it's just to like have a coffee or like actually, stop by?
This coming Friday, me and my friends are having a game night at my friend Gabby's house. And I just asked my friend Holly, because we're going to Ecstatic Dance on Saturday. I asked her if she wanted to carpool together because we live in the same area. And I remember with Ray and Ryan, like I actively seek out the community and like doing stuff like this, but I know this is probably not the norm. Ray and Ryan, last year, I needed like a piece of tech equipment that I knew they had. I asked Ray, hey, do you have this thing? She's like, yeah, come over like 7 a.m. because that was the only time we could make the exchange. She gives it to me and then she's like, you want to come in for coffee? And I'm like, absolutely, I do. And so then we sit around the table, unplanned, spontaneous for an hour, chit-chatting. And I'm just like, oh God, I love that kind of stuff. We need to do more of this.
Yeah. And unless you had to go get that piece of equipment, that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So it goes back to serendipity, right? Yeah. The opportunities for spontaneity, conversation, meeting people. Like, why do we all meet online dating wise? I mean, I met online because it's proximity and it's the serendipity elements. Just, it's not what it used to be. Yeah. So I think that, a lot of what we're building, what you're building with your community is you're building opportunities for serendipity to exist again. That's a big responsibility. And I also think it's wildly rewarding because all the people that are coming to your dinners or hearing these stories and then meeting up in person and just talking about what they liked, what they didn't like, their point of views. It's points of connection. And the fun part is like, where are those connections going to go? New friendship, new relationship, new business opportunity.
Yeah.
Hey, you should meet. It's an intro. It's
absolutely.
Hey, you're looking for a house? I have a realtor you have to meet.
Yeah.
The art of introductions.
And the Seacoast is so conducive to that. There's definitely some powerhouse people around here who are like, I'm the connector.
Super connectors,
shout out Matt Dido, who's on the Creative Mornings volunteer team. Should win an award for like best connector on the Seacoast.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our mutual friends, Allison. I mean, I think of her as a super connector. A lot of people that I met on the Seacoast is because of her. Creative Mornings, like knowing that it existed was because of her. Yeah.
Allison, a day one, Allison Kinsey, real-time creator podcast, day one supporter of Seacoast Stories, showed up to the podcast launch party at Treeline Outfitters. Aww. So we love you, Allison. I read this book last year. The author's name is escaping me. It was either The Anxious Generation or Coddling of the American Mind. It's by the same author. And going to your point about why sense of community has been declining since the 70s, I remember them raising in this book that past generations, parents used to look after each other's kids, like in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
If I'm a parent and I see little Johnny, who is your kid, running about in the neighborhood, I might go then care for them. It's part of my responsibility.
It's the village.
We're all in this together. Yes, it takes a village. Exactly. And we don't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
And parents now are also so hyper focused on protecting their children, kind of with this inflated, unnecessary sense, because in the 80s and the 90s, there were, 2 kidnappings that happened.
Yeah.
And then it got all overblown. Oh my God, our kids are so unsafe if they're out at night. Our kids are so unsafe if they're left to their own devices. We have to helicopter over them all the time, which really just did wonders for kids' mental health, for thinking that they can't do this, that they have no resilience, and also just making parents anxious all the time as well, all contributing to this lost sense of community.
Yeah. The reaction to that is to go inward, right? And I feel like that's fear of rejection. So showing up, right? If you think of like Seacoast stories, like people are actually paying a ticket and then for the dinners and like coming in person.
Yeah.
For you and I who are outgoing, like, no problem. We'll roll up. We don't have any friends there. Who are we going to meet? Right? It's more of we get excited by the possibilities and the opportunities. Whereas for someone that's not like us as outgoing, that may be really scary.
Yeah.
And it's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of no one's going to like me. It's going to be fear of I might say the wrong thing. So fear keeps them at home.
Exactly.
Fear compounds the issues around social wellness, mental health that compound this loneliness epidemic and this fear and anxious kind of time that we're in right now.
Yeah. And to that point, so we just hosted our 11th dinner club in Amesbury. It was our most well attended. We had sold more tickets at Newmarket and I think at the other Dover one, but this was the one where we had the most in attendance.
That's fantastic.
And the first couple ones, because Seacoast Stories Dinner Club was really piloting this whole thing that Ray and Ryan are doing now across the country. So we were kind of the guinea pig. And so the first 5 were putting out fires, solving problems that we wouldn't have anticipated. We just had to go through the experience of Dinner Club to find out what the problems were. We solved pretty much all of them. The one lingering one that was most prominent, smacking me in the face at our previous Dover one, which had, I think, like 97 people signed up, but probably only 70 to 75 people came. I go around to every table and just kind of check in, and I was floored by the number of, we promised 6 people at a table. I was floored by the number of 4-person tables that we had, and 3, these people just didn't show up. They had paid to book the seats. They'd been matched. They'd received a text message telling them where the restaurant was, and they didn't come.
Yeah.
And it's just this ghosting behavior that has become so prevalent. People just think it's a social norm that you can just not show up to something that you have committed to. And that grinds my gears. I'm promising an experience for people, and you are now screwing them over, screwing me over, screwing up this whole operation, the restaurant, and you don't seem to notice that. And more likely than not, sure, things happen, but more likely than not, you're just afraid. You're anxious for the very reasons that you laid out. This Amesbury one, we were like, all right, me, Ray, and Ryan, and their team, we got to put our heads together, figure out how do we combat this issue? How do we make people either feel more comfortable in coming, or B, how do we try to like eliminate this issue? And we made some changes that worked for the Amesbury one, and hopefully that continues. But yeah, the whole fear thing, it's a real thing.
And that's the fun part about building companies is let's start, let's launch, let's see what's working, what's not working. And like, how cool for you to be like the guinea pig, the first one, to be able to watch that first one to now the one that you just had. Yeah. Like those numbers are incredible. Yeah. You should be so proud. It's pretty wild. It is. It's great. And it's also, I was thinking about this morning kind of in prep for today of like, and then another part I would want to think about with the people that show up in person to the dinners are how many of them actually listen to this podcast?
Yes.
Or are they just coming because it's organized, structured community and a chance to meet in person? And what I'd beg to say is it's the social infrastructure that is being built. And that's one of the things that we talk a lot about at Fabrik is it's social infrastructure, because with the loneliness epidemic, infrastructure has gone away. Because of lack of infrastructure, lack of opportunities, lack of places for people to step into or something to sign up to, they're flailing.
Yeah.
Right. To go that point about, yes, it's fear. I also think it's accountability.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot to be said about holding yourself accountable. I don't know if you've ever read the 4 Agreements.
No, but I need to.
Oh, it's so good. One of the 4 agreements is your word is impeccable. I take that really seriously. If I say I'm going to do something, I absolutely do it. If I don't, there better be a good reason. But it goes back to that same behavior. Like if you say you're going to be there, people are counting on you. And it goes back to like, they want to meet you. And I feel like this optionality of like, everything's an option.
Yeah.
Like, nope, it's not. That's not how friendships are formed. That's not how trust is formed. Accountability is literally everything.
To your earlier point, when Ray and Ryan approached me about starting Dinner Club last summer, my thought was, this will be a very cool way to strengthen the audience I already have.
Yeah.
I anticipated everyone who shows up to these would be a listener, a follower, a fan of me, the show in some way. Overwhelmingly, I am surprised by the number of people. This happened a lot at the Amesbury Dinner Club. People coming up to me be like, I'm so sorry. I don't listen to the podcast.
They don't even know who you are.
I'm so sorry. Like I didn't even know this was a podcast. This just popped up on my feed. And then someone at the table told me that this was a podcast and now I'm going to go listen to it. But I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I'm like, that's totally fine. I don't care whether you listen to the podcast or not. I'm so glad that you found it. That means like the algorithms are working or that word of mouth is working. So that's cool. But B, and that you came and that you showed up and that you held yourself accountable. You made the promise and that you leaned in and had a good time and you got out of it what you wanted to. So it's been a very cool way just to get new people into the Seacoast Stories family entirely, which wasn't my original intention, but I'm so glad it's worked out that way.
Because the main reason they're coming there is for community.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. We ask everyone, hey, what is your main motivation for coming here? Is it business networking? Is it dating? Is it friendship? 93% say friendship, which I never would have anticipated. I thought in this entrepreneurial area that we live in, that it's probably like people like want to network. Friendship overwhelmingly, which just tells you about the state of things.
We see the same thing within our walls of Fabrik. I mean, I always joke around like, I don't actually know what half of our members even do professionally for work. I have absolutely no idea because that's not the topic. That's not what we talk about. That's not what the conversations are about. It's not what they get excited about when we do talk about anything. So yeah, I think it's that community. And I had a similar experience where with a podcast being a catalyst for community, Ride or Die podcast listener to Be There in 5. It's all about like millennial female zeitgeist topics. And she's also a big Taylor Swift fan. And she throws these like live podcast parties. And then after is a massive dance party for Taylor Swift.
Love that.
And half of us that go there, like her community is called the Beths. Cause like Be There in 5 looks like Beth. Anyway, but half of us go there because we love her, the content. We want to meet other Beths. There are so many people I will meet. They come by themselves and they're like, I just came for the Taylor Swift dance party. And then they learn of the podcast.
Yes.
So similar thing that has happened with you. And the main catalyst again is I'm looking for people to connect over a shared topic.
Yeah.
Or over a shared dinner.
Coming up, some mind-blowing data about loneliness in this country, what Fabrik is doing to address it, and the rapid rise of IRL events, even though IRL has existed literally since the beginning of mankind. Anyways, that's next. But first, I'm big on preventative health, on moving your body, getting outside, eating well, having purpose, building community, and also, of course, soaking up some sun on a half-decent Seacoast day. We do all of these things, of course, so that we aren't scrambling to fix health problems later. And it turns out that this same mindset applies to your hair. Right next to Southport Kitchen in Rye is Studioh, a salon that specializes in non-medicated, non-invasive hair loss and scalp health solutions. They don't just throw products at you and hope for the best. They figure out the root cause of what's going on and they build a long-term, personalized plan to fix it. Also, while helping you understand issues like dandruff, psoriasis, and overall scalp health along the way. Because let's be honest, hair plays a big role in how you feel walking into a room, like Seacoast Singles, for example, or, walking into Liar's Bench on a Friday night hoping to run into someone that you accidentally dressed well for. And from now through the end of April, Studioh is offering Seacoast Stories listeners $100 off a hair consultation. It's normally $250. You'll get it for $150. Do the math. that's a steal. Just book your appointment through the link in the show notes and say Seacoast Stories sent you. Studioh will then follow up to schedule your discounted consultation. If you know me, you know that I love getting in front of the camera, but I understand why a lot of you might not feel that way, and why something like a family photo shoot may bring on more stress than realizing you've forgotten to pay your parking meter in downtown Portsmouth, which is super tender for me because I just dealt with that this weekend. But trust me, family sessions do not have to be so stressful, and we are lucky to have Tacks Photography here to help. Tacks builds their family sessions around real life, relaxed, playful, and zero pressure for perfect behavior. Because honestly, the chaos is where the magic is. That's where the real smiles live. They offer everything from quick, seasonal, 30-minute mini sessions to fully customized family portraits and even extended generational shoots where every branch of the family gets their own mini moment, in addition to the big group photos. Tacks has been capturing Seacoast families since 2010 because faces change, kids grow, pets come and go, but you'll never regret having the photo. With Mother's Day coming up, this is a gift that actually lasts for your mother, grandmother, or wife. Not flowers, not a candle, something that ends up on the shelf on the wall for the next decade, or the holiday card at the end of this year. And listen, if you're picturing the stress of getting everyone dressed and out the door like you're trying to make a dinner reservation to Mama Luca's on a Saturday night, don't. They keep it light, easy, and fun so you can just show up as yourselves. Book your session now when you visit brasstacksphotography.com. The link is in the sponsored section of the show notes. So you're living in Boston, you meet your now husband online, and you did make a change with companies in this time too, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was at the environmental company and I loved it, but I got to the point where I'll never forget, I was mid-20s and it was a sales role. So you work hard, you hit your number, you get wildly rewarded with a nice check. And then the next quarter, you start all over again. And this whole like grinding it out hamster wheel of it all, like I got to the point where I'm like, is this it? I was 25. Like, is this what my life is going to be like? And I had a wonderful life, but I think that's when like the entrepreneurship kind of bug started to start again of being like, and it goes back to like what I witnessed as a child, my family, my grandparents, my parents, like working, their work ethic. I knew that deep down, I'm like, I'm young, I'm hungry, I got time. Like I want to work harder. I want to build something. And I'll never forget, I'm a big proponent of telling people what you want. Because I have told people what I want, that has opened a lot of doors for me. Two of which are companies I've started. I told one of my clients at the time, I said, I know this sounds crazy, but I want to go work for a startup. I want to grind it out. I want to build a company. Like this was also at the time where like WeWork was like a big brand. So like they kind of were associated with startups in the Boston area. So I started to get like an understanding of what even a startup was. Long story short, a couple of months later, he called me and said, hey, I want to start a sales and marketing company. Do you want in? And I said, yeah. He goes, cool, I'll call you tomorrow. A month later, I left my 6-figure job at 25 and went to making zero. And we started a company. So I was employee number 1. I then became a partner a year later, but it was my first opportunity at building a company out of thin air, which I now think is like my favorite thing in the entire world. So what we did is we were consultants that came in, ripped your company apart to see how are you running your business? How are you making money? And then we came back with a plan on how to grow your company. But instead of a consulting company that usually gives you a plan and charges you a lot of money and then walks away and you likely don't do it, we actually stayed and executed the plan as an extension of your team. So over 6 years, we grew that to like a $10 million company.
Wow.
They are still alive and well. They just turned 12, I think. They're probably doing like 20, 30. I'm not even sure how much they're doing, but like very, very profitable, successful company. But through that opportunity, I got to learn a lot around what it's like to take companies to market, takes products to market, close companies down, or go back to a founder and say, here's all the demand we have from a product market fit perspective. No one wants your product too early in the market, or price is wrong, product's wrong. So through that experience, I got to work with, I believe it was around 45 different companies, 26 different industries. So a lot of at-bats, a lot of opportunities to figure out like what works, what doesn't work. And I think my biggest learning opportunity there was majority of companies operate the exact same way. The only delta are the people and the product or service. Pretty much it.
What do you mean by that? In what ways are they operating the same way?
A lot of them share the same challenges. I used to be part of a lot of like professional development groups, one of which actually a Seacoast business, Franchise Business Review, FBR. They're literally your neighbor. They're in the building right next door.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Shout out Michelle Rowan. She's great.
Okay.
Her husband owns Woodland Farms.
That's a brewery, right?
Yeah, you got to get them on.
Okay. Noted.
Oh, they're great. But anyway.
So many breweries to...
I know. No, he's wonderful. But so long story short, through a lot of experience of getting outside of the industry I was working within, allowed me to see that a lot of the challenges that companies face are very similar. It tends to be around hiring, right people, right seats, people in those seats doing the right function, how to scale their business, how to grow their business, how to take a new product to market, how to keep clients happy. Everyone's dealing with the same problems. So through that opportunity, I learned a lot. I loved what I did. I loved the company we built. We hit the pandemic and we had to make some business changes fundamentally to the core of our offering. And truthfully, I didn't want to go in that direction. What the company was becoming, I knew why it had to become that in order to survive. I just didn't. That's not why we started building.
Didn't align with you.
It didn't align with me. And I got to the point where I'm like, I learned as much as I could. I'm ready to jump off and do this again, but on my own terms. So left that.
Which I applaud you for jumping ship the first time, 25, 6 figures. You're riding high, living the city life. You're probably living a pretty good life for yourself.
It was a nice, cushy life as a 25-year-old. Yeah.
And then a lot of people just... whether that's in a job or a relationship that's going well, like they'll just stay in it. Let's just coast. Let's ride this out, even when it starts to get stale, even when the red flags pop up.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, man, I can't leave this. This is pretty good. So props to you.
What's that saying? It's I did not wake up to be mediocre. I need change. Change is fun. Because of change, you're able to experience new people, new places, new conversations, new things. So I feel like the world is a completely like, the sky's the limit. There's an untapped possibility of people you'll meet, conversations you'll have if you put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
And embrace the change. And what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail and start again?
Some people would say, oh my God, failure? I couldn't imagine it.
I like failing. Well, I've did it a few times, so I don't call it failing. I call it, it's like learning.
Yeah.
It's learning.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah. Learning to more about what you want to become.
Yeah. So you decide that you want no more of this company. And this is also, during like the COVID years as well.
Yeah.
So at some point during this, you are approached about what has now become Fabrik. Take me into the earliest parts of that vision board.
Yeah. So I actually, at this point, I was 15 years into my career. And I got to this like aha moment where I'm like, whatever skills I have developed and these experiences that I have gained are valuable to other people. But I'm so sick of making a lot of people a lot of money. And that was like my breaking point. I was like, do I just burn it all down and just like rebuild? Do I go work for a nonprofit? Like the main driver for me was whatever I do next, it has to be for good. And I have a little bracelet here that says for good that I literally got when these are little friendship bracelets, but anyway.
You're such a Swiftie with your friendship bracelets.
I know. But no, it was through that lens of like, whatever I do, however I spend my time, however I create next, it has to be for good.
You didn't feel you were for good before?
No. I mean, I loved what I built with the company's called Full Funnel. And now it's a go-to-market company and revenue operations company. I loved what we did. I loved the entrepreneurs I helped by bringing their products to market, by scaling their companies. I got a lot of joy out of that. But at the end of the day, it still went away. It still wasn't mine anymore. So this next time around, I knew that I had to be good, as in I had to impact people positively. And I also had to feel good about myself and what I was building. So now my co-founder, Jacqueline, she lives in New Jersey. She's kind of the connection to New York. And she was a friend of a friend. And Jacqueline and I were building in parallel. We were building startups and companies in parallel to each other. It was one of those like loose ties where If she was in Boston, we'd meet up for a drink. If I was in New York, we'd meet up for a drink. So for the last 15 years, we've just kind of kept tabs on each other informally. And she just had a baby and she was like 3 months postpartum. She just left her last company. I left my last company. And I said, hey, I'm going to PA to see my family. I want to just stop by and say hi and see your kid. She's like, oh, okay. We had 1 hour. And in that conversation, I said to her, she's like, what do you want to do next? And I said, I think I want to go build again, but this time it has to be for good. I have to impact people positively. I want to work for a for-profit company, but that's impact driven. She's like, we should talk because I'm building in this category right now. Like I'm literally starting now. And fast forward and Fabrik was born.
Had she already had the concept for Fabrik?
Yeah. Okay. So her background's really unique. Quick story is that she built a company called Spacious in New York City that then sold to WeWork in 2020. They went into underutilized restaurants spaces during the daytime in New York City, and they activated them into co-working spaces.
Amazing idea.
Oh, it's brilliant. I wish it still existed. WeWork bought it, and overnight, the community that was created just evaporated, like disappeared. So when she thought to build...
When WeWork acquired it?
Yeah. I mean, because through acquisition, they acquired it for the tech.
Oh, okay. But the Spacious product
concept
pretty much went to die.
And then that happens a lot with acquisitions of like, why does a acquiring company buy it? Is it market gain, share gain? Is it product gain? Or is it tech? And in today's economy, a lot of it's tech. Okay. It's either to buy versus build. Okay.
So Spacious, this is just a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
The restaurants that were now not being attended during COVID became co-working spaces during the day.
So actually, they were already active restaurants. It was that in New York City, a lot of these restaurants only operate nighttime hours, dinner hours.
Okay.
So during the daytimes, these are underutilized spaces.
Yeah.
That's a big part of what Fabrik is. So when we started to build Fabrik, she was looking at through two lenses of how do I continue to activate underutilized or vacant spaces in our major cities? Because through activating of space and bringing people together increases the connection and community within our local neighborhoods. It obviously also impacts a lot of the economy and other shared businesses in the area. And it was in 2023. So it was at the time that the Surgeon General had put out the warning around the global epidemic of loneliness. And if we do not start prioritizing our social wellness and social health, like we do going to the gym for our physical health, it's going to kill us. It's going to have significant impact on the longevity of our lives.
I remember that coming out when he said that. It really sent shockwaves throughout the country because it's not something people really talk about.
Well, I think it's because loneliness is something that it's invisible. So loneliness is the major health crisis of our generation. It has the same impact that cigarettes did in the 60s when they were like, this is an epidemic, like this is a health crisis. Like if we do not control tobacco consumption, everyone's going to keep dying. And it dropped significantly over those years and over that shared interest of this is something we have to solve. And then obesity hit. And then obesity became the health crisis we had to solve. And I feel like with cigarettes, you can see that. It's tangible. Yes. Obesity, it's tangible. Loneliness, not. It's invisible.
It's wild to hear you say that because with cigarettes, with obesity, there are obvious direct links to cancer and all of like, hey, smoking is just bad for your body and your cells and everything. But how is loneliness? How can that be as detrimental as cigarettes?
In that study, they equated that the effects on your body from loneliness. Are you ready for this?
Please.
It equates to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
How is that possible?
It has the same impact on our bodies internally as smoking. That impact that it has on heart disease, stroke, dementia. So whether or not we can see it, it's happening. And all of the research has shown that there's a decline in the longevity of our lives because of loneliness.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, it's an invisible problem.
Yeah. And, shout out to Dagan to keep referencing him. He said on our recent podcast, the decline of alcohol consumption and a lot of it being for health reasons.
Yeah.
Younger generations are far more health conscious, but then he cited places around the world, like in Sardinia and somewhere in Central America, where maybe they smoke a pipe at the end of the day in in the Nordics or in Germany, they have a midday beer.
Yeah.
But in these communities around the world, it's the social connection that those things bring about that offsets the detrimental health effects of drinking, of smoking.
Yeah. The blue zones talk about that. One of the main factors of blue zones, yes, of course, they're having their glass of wine at night, but it's a sense of community and togetherness.
Yeah.
And that is one of the main factors that constitutes living a long and healthy life.
Mm-hmm.
And again, community is the opposite of loneliness.
Yeah. I've heard you guys cite that the loneliness epidemic is a $460 billion with a B dollar problem in America.
We actually have a new stat.
Okay.
Gallup just reported, I think a year ago now, $1.9 trillion impact to U.S. companies alone relating to workplace loneliness.
What goes into that dollar figure?
Yeah. So it's absenteeism, it's unengaged employees through the lens of work and outcomes.
Okay. So the companies are shouldering the load from employees who are disengaged because they're not showing up for work. Their productivity levels are down. Maybe there's therapy that they're going to as part of their company package that the company is shouldering because they feel lonely. These are all the things that go into it.
It's invisible. Whereas like they're showing up, but they're not doing the work, or they're kind of like under the radar. But that research that Gallup did is directly correlated to unengaged employees. So actively there, but not participating, not doing the level of work that they're expected, and also absenteeism. And
they're unengaged and not showing up to work as much as they used to because of all the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's a sense of community. It's a sense of belongingness. And I think that I have friends from the companies I worked at in my 20s. Like the Gen Z entering the market right now, like they're working from home.
Yeah.
Like, or they are going back to work, or the millennials are now, there's a big return to office push, which there's a lot to be said about that. I think that a lot of companies are being pretty flexible in that they're not requiring 5 days, they're requiring 3. And again, I'm a business owner, so I understand the reasoning for needing that. I also think that it is a big opportunity for employers to start to tangibly show how they're showing up and supporting their employees' well-being, not just from a physical health, like, hey, here's a gym membership or stipend. Hey, here's a mental health stipend, like Calm apps or therapy. When we talk about that third category or that third pillar of health, which is social wellness and social health, it's not even part of the conversation. So that's the biggest opportunity that employers have, whether you run teams that are all in office, hybrid, or remote. You now have a responsibility to build a sense of community and belonging amongst your team. And it's not a nice to have, it is a need to have. The companies that are doing this, Fortune 100 top companies to work for, just came out by Great Places to Work. I just met with their team last week in Chicago. The amount of impact that prioritizing employee belonging has to businesses, they outperform 3x. So again, it's not a nice to have. There are true business impact when you prioritize your people first.
Yeah. Gosh, all right. So much to chew on here. So part of what you just spoke about is part of the Fabrik strategy moving forward. To your earlier point. So when I was at ESPN, I was at ESPN for 3.5 years, 2.5 years of that pre-COVID, completely in office, sometimes 7 days a week. Is pretty crazy. I have so many crazy memories and stories. You know, I was there with a lot of my buddies who I'm still very close with in the trenches, like the young kids at the company. And we just like look back on those times and laugh at the things that used to be said, the things that people used to do when we're 3 a.m. Like here's 3 24-year-olds running this nationwide radio network. Funny stories for days. I was at Spotify, pandemic and after, pretty much same amount of time. All remote, occasional work trips, occasional big group meetups at our LA, Stockholm offices. Same amount of time. I have about 1/50th of the memories just because it was just all like I have very little glowing things to say or stories from my time working at Spotify. I love the company, but I did not feel by the end of it when they laid me off, I was like, thank God. Remote work as much as we built it up to be and as amazing as it started, the whole concept of it when it was introduced really during COVID. it's not great for your social health.
It's not.
And feeling connected to the company you work for.
It's not. And I think that there's a difference in feeling connected to people and feeling connected to your company. And I think that it doesn't have to be one or the other. I think that when companies prioritize the belonging and social health of their employees and they feel connected because their employer is investing in them, they innately will feel connected to that community,
Absolutely.
that company.
And they'll go harder for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we see that a lot at Fabrik, where, we've been building Fabrik for the last 2 years. We have 3 locations, one in Tribeca, one in Dumbo, and we opened our 3rd location, Second City in Chicago, in February. And when we started to solve 2 problems, which is we need to, again, help address the loneliness epidemic. And to do that, we are going to do it through the way of activating underutilized and vacant spaces. That's how Fabrik was born. We are hell-bent on being warm and welcoming social spaces for social connection first. Because we filter off of that, every single person that walks through the doors of Fabrik has the same shared goal of I am here for social connection and to meet other people. So automatically you walk in, it's warm, it's welcoming. It feels like a living room versus an office. The people are warm. People definitely co-work there. We are not a co-working space. We're a social space first. But yes, during 9 to 5, whether you walk into a coffee shop or Fabrik or a restaurant at the bar, people will have a laptop open. And it's, again, the need is I want to be around other people. I want to be around other people to connect with them in real life, to talk about what we're thinking, what we're passionate about. And what we have seen at Fabrik, because of creating these spaces for belonging and for people to be able to be around other folks, but also attend one of the now 130 gatherings happening at Fabrik a month. It's areas of opportunity for people to meet someone new, try something new, and continue to learn of who they want to become. So yeah, I mean, we see this before and after effect of Fabrik all the time, where some people are fully remote and they're like, I don't have a 3rd space. My home and my work, which is typically your 1st and 2nd space, is the same.
Yeah.
And they come to Fabrik and they have friends, or they actually are returned to office and they're in an office 3 days a week, and they'll come to Fabrik the other 2 or pop in on lunch hour at their company nearby.
Yeah.
So it's not a only remote teams that have this problem or hybrid. It's actually everyone across the kind of working environment, I'll say.
Yeah. So you and Jackie, you guys come up with Fabrik. You want to take these underutilized spaces and convert them. And the first iteration of Fabrik, you actually took to London, right? To do a pilot version of it?
Yeah, we did. We had an interesting strategic partner that allowed us to test in London. We learned a lot. And then at the same time, about 3 months later, we then launched it in New York. And what we saw is that New York was really taking off. So we made the strategic decision to have London be what it was, which was a pilot, and apply those learnings to stay local and kind of double down in New York, mainly because she was in New York. I was, up here in Portsmouth. I was, a C&J bus right away.
Damn right. Shout out to C&J.
Shout out C&J.
Just used them my Logan Airport trip to Seattle, which was lovely. Thank you, C&J.
I'm a 6 a.m. Tuesday going to New York.
I mean, you really can't beat it. Of all the different ways we have to get to New York City, the C&J, 5.5 hours, the way that they have the timetables down to a T blows my mind. The fact that it says, hey, we're getting there at 12:04 p.m. and I roll up 12:04 p.m. It's insane. Well done, C&J.
I know. Well done, C&J. So we doubled down in New York because of the proximity for both of us.
Yeah. What were the learnings from London, or the perhaps mistakes, and why you didn't ultimately land in having something permanent in London?
Yeah. So one of the reasons is that we were creating a new category. We are not a social club. We are not co-working space. We are a social space, that's not a term used yet.
Right.
So what we saw in London is everyone wanted to put us in a box. And if we didn't fit in that box, the way that they used the product and used Fabrik was just very different. So there was no consistency of product from all of our users or members at the time. From a go-to-market perspective, like just variability in that is just, you can't scale that. So when we launched in New York, just the way for people to understand very quickly what this was, feel that it was different and want to be part of building this with us was just next to none.
Yeah.
Fast forward now, 2 years later, building in Chicago, we're growing at 2 times the speed in Chicago that we did in New York.
Amazing.
And it comes down to people, again, like it resonates with what they're looking for. They're looking for community and connection in real life. And when they enter Fabrik, we have now over 200 communities that call Fabrik home. And by being a Fabrik member, you can plug into all of those gatherings.
Wow.
You also don't need to become a Fabrik member to go to the gatherings. So we believe that communities should be affordable and accessible to all. So we have many different options of ways that people can, again, be part of those spaces, meet someone new, try something new, whether it's attending a panel on AI or vibe coding. You haven't vibe coded yet. So cool.
Vibe coding?
Do you know about Lovable, the platform yet?
No.
It's going to change your world.
Oh boy.
It's this whole new ways of working and creating. It's so, again, giving people an opportunity to be in a space where they can build something on a new tool and just try a new tool that maybe their employer's not giving them, their friends aren't talking about. It's just another space. It could be knitting club, book club, silent book club, art club. I always joke around that if you can think of it, it's probably happening at Fabrik. And because of that, across now 3 locations, our communities, majority of the programming happening at Fabrik is member led. So these are communities that call Fabrik home.
Very cool. 3 locations, 2 in New York City, in Tribeca and in Dumbo. And then, as you said, you recently launched earlier this year in Chicago. I imagine the spaces all kind of look and feel very similar.
Yep.
When I walk into Fabrik, what am I seeing?
First off, like I said, it's warm and welcoming. Like instantly, those are the words that people use. And it's by design. So everything is built for connection first. So soft touches, couches, communal tables, a lot of soft seating. Like it feels more like a living room than an office. Everything is modular by design. So you may walk in, there might be 40 yoga mats on the floor and a breathwork session going on for female founders. In the afternoon, there might be a tasting experience by one of our members who has a syrup company. At nighttime, there might be silent book club going on. And in the back panel, a color analysis for your wardrobe going on. Like you never know what's going on at Fabrik.
Yeah. Not a co-working space.
No.
But I imagine that's when you describe this, what you're building, people probably like, oh, so it's a co-working space.
Everyone, it goes back to like people, our brains operate in a sense where I need to put you in a category. That's how we survive, right? So if I think about that, like it makes sense. And what I always say back is when you walk in, you'll instantly feel that it's not, and you'll see that it's not. Yes, we have spaces where people can open a laptop, but if you walked across the street to White Heron this morning, half the people in the space would have a laptop open and they're socially co-working. Mm-hmm. But we don't call White Heron a co-working space.
Right. And you told me that if your goal really is to get deep work done, deep focused, uninterrupted work, Fabrik's not for you.
And that's one of the ways that we filter people in and out, where if they come in and say, I'm looking for a co-working space, we tell them very much, we are not that. If you're looking for a quiet space where you can just be in a conference room all day and not talk to anyone and it's quiet, this isn't it.
So when you say you have a couple hundred communities using the space, what are examples of the different communities that you have?
So we have a lot of communities that are personal interests, professional interests. So it kind of like runs the gamut. We have a lot of like art clubs, reading clubs, design clubs, female founders, entrepreneurship, fractionals, AI. What am I missing? We have a run club now.
Oh, of course.
Run and reading club.
Run clubs are blowing up.
I know.
The one at Tree Lines is crazy.
That's right. It's called not Treehouse. Tree Line. Sorry.
Yeah. Tree Lines Run Club is impressive. Shout out to them.
Yeah, but no, I always say, like, if you can think of it, it's probably happening at Fabrik, and it's through the level of tech. In real life dating, that's a big category that's growing right now. People wanting to meet in person.
It's so funny that just the use of the term IRL the last few years, it's just like we've created a new category for something that already existed.
Yeah. Like community, like we started.
I know. Dinner Club has now become a fundamental, crucial part of the Seacoast Stories business.
Yeah.
And my other live events, I'm doing Seacoast Singles with Lex in a few weeks.
Yeah. Love.
And, live podcast at Stone Church in a few weeks as well. Like this IRL thing has become like a major pillar of my business, which is just so crazy. Like getting people together is a big business opportunity, but that's where the world is.
Well, and we say that a lot of our communities, when they come to our we call them community builders. So you're a community builder.
Yeah.
When they come to Fabrik, sometimes they're like aspiring builders who want to build something, or they already have an online community or audience that they want to test an IRL concept or just bringing people together. And they learn a lot by doing it, but they also tend to see the biggest need that we hear from every single community that hosts at Fabrik is that small intentional gatherings is what they want. They don't want these once a quarter, 150 people meetups. They want a 30 person and maybe monthly. And I want to be able to leave with have made a few friends and a few connections and have deep conversations. That's what they want.
Yeah, I love that. So your business model, you have members. I imagine a couple tiers of memberships. And then how else are you monetizing on this?
Yeah. So we have a couple different ways. So we have memberships, which to your point is depending upon access level. We have community builders who host, and then community seekers who are folks looking for community. And then we have what we call like users. So these are people who like they're attendees. They'll come in, they'll buy a day pass. They're always kind of friends of Fabrik, if you will. And then we also are launching Fabrik for Companies. So this is a big opportunity for kind of where we're going now, primarily this year, through way of really doubling down on how do we continue to empower more people and more groups of people to prioritize social wellness by having Fabrik be a social wellness benefit. So if you think about employers, they are already giving benefits to their team members through way of physical health, again, gym memberships, mental health, maybe therapy, compensation. When we think about that social health, we're challenging them on give your team an opportunity to find connection in real life. So access to spaces in Fabrik to be able to be part of that.
How did you land upon that concept? Because that's brilliant.
When we started at Fabrik, we started it through the lens of we want to solve loneliness, but we knew that loneliness was not just a personal problem, it was a workplace problem. And when we started to look at the data, we saw the impact it was having on a greater scale. Over the last 2 years of building, we also started to hear a lot from companies and HR folks and business leaders coming in and saying, I know you're solving this. Like I'm trying to solve this too. And it's one of those things where it's not a personal problem and it's not a professional problem. It's a whole person problem.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you're really digging into this specific part in Chicago right now, your newest space. Let's use a Chicago company, the Chicago Tribune, a newspaper. So Chicago Tribune comes to Fabrik and says, hey, we want to offer Fabrik as part of our employee benefits package. What does that look like? Yeah,
so what we do is we look at the number of employees that they have and the access level that they'd like, and then that they get the opportunity of getting access to Fabrik spaces and the programming that we put on. So it's a nice way of building more of a like people-centric program versus kind of a one-size-fits-all. So by being able to allow those employees the optionality of what types of communities they may be part of, what kind of connection opportunities they want or experiences they may be part of, but also more importantly, like time of day and how it fits into their personal schedule is another big part. Because right now, like, unfortunately, like the companies don't have the budget or the people to be able to build out a solution for every single person.
Right. I think you mentioned earlier the forced fun, hey, this month we're doing bowling at 6 p.m. after work. Employees don't really want to do that.
No, they don't. And depending upon what stage of life they're in, I mean, I wanted to do that when I was in my 20s, but not everyone wants to do that. So it goes back to like meeting your employees where they're at for what they want. And through Fabrik, we give them the optionality to do that. So it's like in marketing, it's like choose your own adventure. Like it's kind of that. It's like choose your own adventure based upon your personal interests, your personal kind of curiosity, the rooms that you want to be in, the people that you want to meet. And it goes back to the point I made before, which is if you are creating the spaces for your employees to find connection, even if it's outside of the walls of your office, because you're investing in them and finding connection and belonging and friends, their social wellness bucket, it's being filled.
Yeah.
So they're more likely to show up to work and do a good job and be passionate about what they're building and put out for the hours that they're there.
So New York City and Chicago, These are major hubs in America. Where else are we looking at? / what are the components of a good spot for a Fabrik location?
Yeah. So the things that we look at, and it's a question we got when we went to Chicago, is the first and foremost, is community a pillar within that city? So it sounds like a silly question, but in some cities, like it's just not, or it's not as fundamentally being demonstrated, I'll say. The second thing is activation of city. So if you walk into the streets of New York, like it is happening. It is post-pandemic levels again. Chicago's even like harder, like busy, busy, busy. So when we think about like activated cities, like they're activated again. The next component is accessibility, transportation wise. Boston's tough. I lived in Boston.
When you said this to me, this blew my mind. You said people don't take the tea. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, of course people take the tea.
Anyone listening who lives in Boston, who lives in Boston will get this. I lived in the city for 10 years. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've taken the tea.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Because here's Boston is not built. Boston's an old city. It's also was not set up like a grid.
Yeah.
So if you're in New York City, you pop around the subway, it's easy. Chicago, same thing. In Boston, your options are I can take an Uber for 20 minutes. I can walk for 30 because obviously traffic, or I could take the T for 45. What are you going to do?
I'm trying to save my money. I'm going to take the T.
No, you walk.
And then I'll read.
Yeah. But so another component, the third pillar that we always look for is accessibility, because we know that a big reason, again, of people getting out of the house or coming after work to find social connection is directly correlated to, is it accessible? Is it convenient? If it's less convenient, it's less likely to be adopted.
Okay. So given these parameters, what are the cities that you're targeting next?
Austin would be fun. Denver or Boulder area.
I think Denver would or Boulder would crush.
Yeah, those two areas specifically, like very community focused. Yes. I'd love it. We talked about Toronto earlier. I'd love to go to Toronto. Very big city, big focus on connection or in community. We'll go to the West Coast where we land. A lot of options. LA's tough. San Francisco's a little more palatable, but yeah.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
I get that question a lot, because when people find out that I'm building in real life companies, but I'm not physically in real life, even though I'm there 2 weeks out of every month where our members think I live in New York. The way that I answer it is through the lens of this: is the reason that we exist is to create warm and welcoming social spaces for people to find social connection in real life through way of activating underutilized spaces. There are so many business owners and beautiful spaces in Portsmouth that just need to be activated through community and connection. And I think Nisa does a fantastic job of this at Read More. You know, she has book clubs. She has Wild Ivory and Lex. We did a pop-up there. Yeah. It goes back to rethinking how we're using these spaces and how can we lean more into community and connection and bringing in different types of experiences, whether it's a live podcast with you, whether it's a, junk journaling workshop, whether it's a panel on AI, or, bringing together female founders in the Seacoast. Like, it's still the art of leveraging these spaces to build community in person. So the answer is no Fabrik in Portsmouth. I don't need to build here because there's a lot of people already building community that is doing this. It has the same outcome. Yeah. And it's going back to like, how can we be doing more for the community of Seacoast? And for me, it's not creating something again. It's how do we activate these spaces and these places that already exist so they can continue to exist, so we don't have, what's that Feed building there? Remember Feed? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Such a great space, beautiful space. It hasn't been occupied in 2 years. Yeah. So no, I think that there's still just so much opportunity within our own businesses here to build community in person. Yeah. She's Gwen Wiscounts-Nisbet, and she is the co-founder, the COO of Fabrik, which is not in Portsmouth, but it's in New York City and Chicago, and more to come. Gwen, thank you so much for the conversation, for being you, for doing all that you do for the Seacoast and beyond. And thanks for doing the very important work of tackling a very important issue. I'm so glad that we have people like you running things like this because the world needs it. So thank you, Gwen. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, this is a long time coming, and I'm glad we got a chance to formally have a conversation and not be on stand-up paddle boards having coffee in the middle of the river. I'm glad we got to do this on land this time. Me too. I'll see you and read more books soon. Absolutely.
Again, that's Gwen Viscount-Nesbitt of Fabrik. Continuing with today's theme of IRL events, there's a bunch happening with Seacoast Stories. We're bringing back Seacoast Singles, our live dating show, to 3S Art Space on Friday, April 24th. We'll have over 100 singles in the room, ages 35 and over only. But if you're not single and you just want to enjoy the show, you are invited as well. It's hilarious, it's wholesome, it's a bunch of fun. Plus, signups for Dinner Club Exeter on May 6th are now available. And then the very next day, Seacoast Stories Live heads to Stone Church in Newmarket. I'll talk to La Melita's Max Pruna, musician Caitlin Piper, and local politician Stephanie Shaheen, with an after party upstairs to follow. For more info and tickets to all of these events, just check out the links in the events section of the show notes. Thank you, Gwen, for joining, to Budget Blinds Studioh and Brass Tacks Photography for supporting this episode, and to all of you for listening. I'll be back for a special themed episode next week, but until then, have a great week. If you see me around town, perhaps at Studioh 1, Three Bridges Yoga, or Dinner Club in Manchester on Wednesday, then please stop me and say hi. I would love to hear your story. Have a great week, everybody. I'll talk to you soon, but until then, live free or die.